Hi, and welcome to Voice and Choice with Playlists. My name is Becky Reniger. I'm a gifted specialist and coordinator for Milton Union Schools in West Milton, Ohio. This is my 19th year in gifted education, and I'm currently the chair-elect for the NAGC Computer and Technology Division, but I'm also the chair currently for the OAGC Teacher Division. So I love to do sessions with technology and gifted children and how to merge the two to help meet their needs the best. So today's session, we're looking at voice and choice with playlists. So if you're not familiar with what a playlist is a sequence of resources and activities for students to complete in a lesson. They can vary in length. They can be short or long depending on how many skills you want to cover. It could be a single skill specific, or it could be as much as a full multidisciplinary unit. So really the control is up to you into how you want to design it. It can be implemented with individual students or groups of students or the whole class. Also, you can use this in a print or digital format. So in a digital format, which is what we're going to be looking at today, we're going to use something like PowerPoint or Google Slides to create it, and we're going to use hyperlinks a lot. If it's a printed playlist, it can be a simple list of activities. What I like about doing the digital version is it saves, it's easy to edit again and use it in different ways. And the nice thing about playlists is they facilitate independent learning. So the teacher can get the students started on the playlist, they work independently, and then the teacher has the time and availability to go through and help individual students with needs. So it kind of shifts the plan of executing that lesson plan. The students are given the information and then they're able to work at their own pace. And that is so important with gifted students. So how can a playlist be used to facilitate voice and choice? So often playlists are very prescriptive with tasks sequenced from easy to more difficult. The expectation is that kids are going to complete every single activity. But I prefer to do a choose your own adventure type approach instead. So like the books, the choose your own adventure books, students are able to make decisions at various points and kind of really custom tailor the lesson to their own needs. So this allows for students to select their activities based on their preferred learning modalities, their preferred interests. It allows them to determine the sequence that they work in or the amount of practice that they need, the amount of time spent in that practice. And it kind of puts students in the driver's seat for them to be able to make choices and have some say-so in how they demonstrate what they've learned. So let's go on to our next slide. So why are these playlists good for gifted and talented students? So we know we have some different characteristics of gifted and talented students. For example, they learn at a more rapid rate. Well, playlists can help because they provide that differentiation of pace that allows them to use fewer repetitions than, say, a general classroom student may need. But also, it also incorporates that opportunity for students to self-assess, determine, hey, I really don't quite have this down. I need to get a little more practice in. So that kind of gives them that flexibility. We know that children that are gifted and talented also have a little intellectual curiosity. Playlists can provide those options for extended study, additional topics. We know that gifted students are often creative. And that opening up the products for students to allow them to do an open-ended product gives them a little bit more opportunity to utilize those creative thinking skills. We know that gifted children have the ability to comprehend material that's several years above grade level. So with the flexibility of a playlist, you can incorporate resources at multiple different reading levels. And if you have gifted students who happen to have a reading disability or something else, that can also be differentiated the other direction as well. And then we know that gifted students are also frequently intrinsically motivated, particularly when it's something they're interested in. But that intrinsic motivation, I can do it myself, the playlist is a great opportunity to give them an opportunity for that independence. And then the teacher can provide support to students as it is needed. So we're going to take a look at an example that I've used it with my students. This came from a middle school class where I have my middle school explorations at 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. We are currently learning Latin. So as a piece of that, we wanted to learn about Roman numerals. And so I built this Roman numeral choose your own adventure for my students to work through some practice and develop some skills on Roman numerals and translating between English and Latin and using Roman numerals and Arabic numerals. So you'll notice on my title slide here, I always say view in presentation mode. When we do that, the students have the ability to click on links more easily. So I'm going to switch over so that you can actually see my presentation. And I'm going to back this on up here. All right, so you can see I've got a title slide, and then it's all built in here, and the whole thing was only 9 slides put together, but it provided multiple days of activities for my students and opportunities to make a lot of choices, learn various skills relating to Roman numerals. So let me go ahead and put it in the presentation mode so you can see it. And I like to use the slide design function on PowerPoint because you see how lovely and professional and smooth looking it is. It's nice for students. So again, there's that reminder to view it in presentation mode, and then we'll move on to the next slide. So the first slide in here is a hook, and I use classhook.com. You can go on that website and find all kinds of little short video clips to use with your students. This one is a particular one where Bart Simpson has to use Roman numerals to escape some bullies, and they can view the video here as well. So I like to start them off with that hook, kind of drawing them in something with a high interest base that they can kind of activate a little bit of background knowledge. All right, so then my next slide, I want to talk about objectives, like what I want my students to be able to do by the end of this experience. So you see I have my 4 objectives here, the things that I want them to be able to do. And then I indicated that these are a part of our Ohio Standards for World Cultures and Language. All right, so this is my choose your own adventure slide. And this looks the same. I'm going to go ahead and move this over here. Oops. So this looks the same for all of my students. They can, it's kind of like their landing page. And you'll see here I have translating with Latin and cardinal numbers, writing Roman numerals, and the history of Roman numerals. All of these tie directly back to my objectives on that previous slide. This is an important symbol here on my slide. This is a symbol that's going to appear throughout the rest of my presentation. And when students click on it, it's going to bring them back to this screen. So that allows them to move in and out of the various slides and still come back to where they need to go. Down here at the bottom, when students think that they have met their learning objectives, there's a opportunity for them to choose how they want to demonstrate what they've learned. And there's a hyperlink down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and start and kind of show you around a little bit. It's very user-friendly for my students. You could do this with elementary students as well as middle. Just change up the content. So if I click here on History of Roman Numerals, you'll see that I have multiple activities that I've hyperlinked in. The first 2 here are articles about information on the history and the limitations of Roman numerals. Notice this was part of my objectives, is for them to know about the limitations of Roman numerals. And then I have several short videos that can help students understand the same information. I have students that enjoy reading more than watching videos, and I have students that enjoy watching videos more than reading. So I like to provide a variety of options. And then here's my little icon, and when I click on it, it'll bring me back here to the start page. On writing Roman numerals, you'll see I have a variety of activities for my students. You see there's completing a Nearpod, and if you're not familiar with Nearpod, it is a great resource that you can use. You can put a PowerPoint, videos, all kinds of content in, And then you can put stopping points within the lesson for students to complete activities to check their understanding. You get reports on these. It gives some self-correcting feedback, and it's a great way to assess how your students are progressing through material. Uh, Practice writing Roman numerals on Khan Academy. Khan Academy is fantastic in terms of short videos that move very quickly and activities for students to practice. An ed puzzle, this is usually a string of videos put together, and you can put those pause points in with questions and feedback as well. This was a fun video. I got it from Class Hook. It's from Square One TV on PBS back in the late 80s, early 90s. It's a fun song where the producers are creating a song, and someone from the band doesn't understand Roman numerals, and it's humorous, but it kind of draws them into that explanation. And then I also have playing a game that they can do online. And then I had some puzzles that I'd printed off on paper pencil, activities for students that would prefer to use paper pencil to practice. So here's an example of like the Roman numeral game on ABCia, and they have multiple levels and bonus questions for them, as well as that tutorial. Okay, so then the next objective I had on here was translating Latin cardinal numbers. And on this one, they had the opportunity to listen to pronunciations of how the numbers sound when the Latin words. So we're not talking about only the Roman numerals, but we're also talking about, say, unus for one, duo for two, and so on. So it gives them the opportunity to hear those pronunciations that go along with the words. They can watch a video. They can play a Blue-Kit. Now, the fun thing with Blue-Kit is you can assign it as a whole class activity, or you can also assign a Blue-Kit as a individual homework activity. So this one, the due date has passed since I set it up, but they would put that game ID in if they had it, or it would go straight to that game. So Blue-Kit allows them, you can do several different formats. They answer questions, and when they get things right, they get points within the game, and they can do all kinds of fun and interesting things. There's also the opportunity to study a chart. I had a paper pencil chart, and I also had a digital chart available for them that they could take a look at and study. Again, it would probably be very helpful for the students to listen to those pronunciations as well, but hopefully they will see that there's lots of different ways of getting that same information. Then I had some puzzles, paper pencil, and then I also had a board game that students could play with one another. It had all of the material set out, and it had a set of directions explaining how the turns work and what you're supposed to do. That was actually a very popular activity on these slides. But it gave the students an opportunity to try out different ways of practice and learning those cardinal numbers. All right, and then the next section I have on this slide is this test your knowledge slide. And on the test your knowledge slide, there are several different opportunities for students to answer questions and get feedback automatically. So you have Blue-Kits, a couple different types. There's another game. There was a jigsaw puzzle that they could do. It had 5 different levels. There's a game with that adjustable difficulty so that they can see how far they can go and what things they need to continue to come back and work on. They also had the ability to choose to study with a buddy, work together to practice or quiz each other on those 4 objectives. So I again brought those objectives back in to reiterate what it is that they're supposed to be learning in this experience. And then when you click on your button, of course, you come back here. So after students have had an opportunity to go through and check out all of the different activities, try different things, go back for re-instruction if they needed to, then is their demonstration of learning opportunity down here. And if I have a little window that's popping up that's keeping me from getting to it, but I'm just going to navigate to the next one. Here you are. So this is the demonstration of learning slide, where students have some choices. They can choose to create a product or a set of products that would demonstrate their learning. And notice I have on here that they need to talk with me first about what they're choosing to do and how it's going to be graded. That way I can make sure that what they're doing actually does illustrate what they know how to do. And then we can have that discussion about how we're going to address grading. Or they had the ability to take a quiz over the 4 objectives above. And I also offered paper pencil as well. So for this, I used formative.com, and it's really a nice website that allows you to upload materials, documents, PDFs to let you turn it into a quiz, right? So this is what it would look like from the teacher side. I have my PDF here that I've uploaded, and then I had each question was linked to a different spot on that PDF. And you can see I can add in correct answers, partial match, if I wanted it to be case sensitive, and so on. So then this is kind of what it would look like for a student on this end. So you see they have the questions that connect back to the numbers. So then they would go back and forth. So if students didn't want to complete this online, they didn't have to. And the nice thing for me is that it self-grades. But, if that's not what they wanted to do to show what they know, the nice thing is because this was a PDF image, I can print out the same exact document and have it available to students on pencil paper as well. So that kind of brings us back to our presentation here. And you'll see how the use of hyperlinks helped to make it navigable for my students to go back and forth. All right, so back to where we were. So this is how I structured my playlists. I keep the same structure and format, so that way when I go to the next one, it's really easy. The kids already understand where things are, how it works, and it's easy for me to edit between different topics. So I start with a title slide with that reminder about presentation mode, some sort of a hook. That classhook.com has great videos. I want to clarify my objectives and standards so that they know what they're learning and why. Then my organizer slide that we had all of my directions and the categories of activities. Those activities are each hyperlinked to their own slide. So each slide for each of those categories with the links, an icon that goes back to the original organizer slide. I want to have a test yourself slide so they can check their understanding to kind of decide how much more practice they need in the various areas. And then, of course, the demonstration of learning slide at the end. Okay, so how do you make one? So while these are labor intensive at first, they're really easy to edit and reuse again later. So when you have a little bit of time to really play around with it and get a good one going, it's going to be time well spent that you can reuse. And depending on how much you want to cover in there, it could be something that's completed over multiple class periods. All right, so the first thing I want to do when I make one is I want to think about what are my objectives and what is my time frame. How much time do I have for my students to work on this? Do I want this to be a 1 day's worth activity, or is this a multiple day thing? And I want to think about what objectives can I tackle within this structure and framework that the students are going to be able to find resources for and are going to be able to use. And then I need to think about my students. I need to think about what pre-assessment data I have. Where are they in the attainment of these skills already? What are their interests? Do they prefer to, play games to practice? Do they prefer to read an article? Do they prefer to watch videos? What are their reading levels? What kind of materials do I need to find that will be tailored to the needs of my students? Then I'm going to create a base presentation. So using that same structure as before, I'm putting together that basic, structure. And then I'm going to collect resources for each portion of the objective. And you want to make sure that you can include a variety of different ways to get that information. Remember, thinking about all of your students, you want to provide them with choices. You want to provide ways to practice as well. And it doesn't all have to be digital. As in with my Roman numeral activity, we also had the ability for students to choose to work with paper pencil on puzzles or with a board game. So make sure that you're including lots of opportunities there. You're going to create hyperlinked resources for each objective slide, and you want to make sure that you include that icon to get back to your organizer slide. And in just a minute here, I'll show you how to do that. And make sure that you add and link activities to test yourself, and then providing those options on the demonstration of learning. I like to provide that formal assessment as well as having that open-ended project option. And as you're collecting those resources, I would highly suggest using something like Wakelet to bookmark as you go through. So then they're available to you later on if you wanted to add new ones in or change different things out. You have that availability. Wakelet.com is a really great bookmarking site that's easy for you to use. You can actually invite collaborators. So if you're working with a team of teachers on this and you want to share resources that you find, it's a great way to do that. And with the Chrome plugin, you can just click on the Wakelet button and it'll save your resource for you to your folder, and then it's ready to go when you're ready to build. Okay, so let's go ahead. And this is an example of of a Wakelet, and I'm going to come back to this slide so you can see it again. But I do have resources for voice and choice with playlists on my Wakelet. You can go to this link, you can type in these last four, or you can scan the QR code. It'll get you there as well. If you are viewing this during the actual session time for OAGC, I can post this link in the question and answer as well. And as you go through, if you do have questions, please shoot them my way. You can either email them to me or you can post them in that question and answer if you're viewing it during the time for the session, and I'll be on there ready to take questions as well. So let me go ahead and show you real quick before we close this out for today. Let me show you how to create those links within that PowerPoint. So I'm going to just open up a new presentation. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to pretend that this is my organizer slide. All right. And I'm going to add in an image. Let's see. We will go with flower. Okay. All right. So say this is one of my objectives. And what I'm going to do is this will be my all about flowers. Okay. Now I'm also going to need an icon that I want students to click on to come back to. So I'm going to insert icons, and we'll just go with this one. Okay. So when students see this, I'm going to put directions for them. When you see this icon, to get back to this slide, click on it. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the hyperlink. So I'm going to hyperlink my flower picture here. I'm going to double click on it. If I double click on it, I can hit link, and I'm going to link it to a place in this document because I want to go to my All About Flowers slide when students click on it. So I'm going to choose All About Flowers, and then I'm going to click OK, and that's going to take me here. All right, now I'm going to show you how to add that link back. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a link to my icon as well, but I want this one to always come back to my organizer slide. So I'm going to do that. All right, now this will bring my students back to the organizer slide whenever they click on it. And I'm going to make a copy of that. And then I'm going to come over here to my All About Flowers and I'm going to paste it. When I've already linked it, those links will stay. So now when they view in my PowerPoint, you'll see here's my organizer slide. They'll click on it. It'll bring me to All About Flowers. Then to get back, all they have to do is click on the icon before and it brings us back to the organizer slide. So once you have that hyperlinking skill down, really you can do so many cool things. The other thing I wanted to show you is adding in a link. So as you're doing those activities, coming up with the activities for students, you're going to want to probably provide them with a little bit of detail. So click here to see my wakelet. Okay. Or whatever it is that you're wanting to put in. And then what I'm going to do is highlight the word that I want to be linked. I'm going to double click on it. Never mind, I'm not going to do that because it thinks I'm wanting to change it. I'm going to insert a link to that text right there. And I'm going to type in that I want it to go to an existing file or web page. And I'm going to type in wakelet.com. Okay, and then that'll go ahead and create my hyperlink. So I'm going to do that for each of my online activities. And then when students are in presentation mode and they click there, it will bring up the website where I'd like them to go. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is how these playlists are built, how they work. And hopefully I've given you some great ideas about how you can use them with your students. If you want to check out more resources and samples, check out this Wakelet link here at on the QR code, or you can put in that, and I'll drop that also in the Q&A link so that you have a clickable link there during the presentation on the conference. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out, email me. You can contact me at my email, reniger@muschools.com. All right, well, hope you enjoy the rest of your conference. Have a fabulous day.